Come on, get it right now. So first up, I'm gonna bring up Mr. Quentin Curtis. He is the head of the Black Fire Brigade out of Chicago, Illinois. Next up, I'm gonna bring up Mr. Kervin Johnson, who is the head and founder of Caliber Solutions. Yes, sir, retired police officer. Next up, I'm gonna bring up Mr. Chris Bailey. He is the medic for Family Feud and a host of other entertainment shows. And finally, I want to bring up Mr. Ben Gibbons, special agent in charge for the ATF in Georgia. These fellas are going to talk to you a little bit about their careers in civil careers. What's that? What's the moment? So this is a session I typically just let y'all kind of handle it. So I'm gonna let these guys introduce themselves, tell a little bit about what they do, and then I'll probably ask a couple questions. Then I'll let you guys dictate the conversation, because this is a conversation that's really important. Some of these guys are police officers, retired police officers, an agent in the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, and a medic. So if you guys just want to go down and talk a little bit about you guys, yourself, and what you do.
All right, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? All right, let's keep that energy up. I love the chants, by the way, and I love helping you guys tie ties. You are interesting young men and future leaders, which you already know. My name is Ben Gibbons. I am the special agent in charge of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. ATF, some of you guys better known it as the Alphabet Boys. Anybody know what the Alphabet Boys are? Alphabet, the feds, right? Federal government. So a little bit about myself. I supervise over about 160 employees throughout the state of Georgia, and our mission is real simple. It's to keep its public safety and keeping our citizens, safe from violent crime, specifically firearm-related violent crime. That's just a little bit about me, and I'll tell you a little bit about how I came to this position.
All right, everybody, my name is Chris Bailey. I'm a medic. I own a small EMS company called A1 Medic Team. I started off on an ambulance with a local ambulance company, and I branched off. I took a step out on faith, started to get into show business, and I started to cover some shows and some local events in Atlanta. I'm currently the medic for Family Feud. I blessed me with that opportunity. Judge Steve Harvey wilding out, and I recently did the Crew League. That's with Revolt. I'm blessed to be in this position. I think EMS is a wonderful thing if you love to be of service and help your people. You know, you can also, with these skills, you can help your loved ones. So it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, I want everybody to keep that same energy. I know you guys have seen me around campus. I'm gonna formally introduce myself to you now. Former or retired Lieutenant Kervin Johnson. I served with the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C. for 28 years. Before that, I was in the Air Force for 4 years. So my position there, give you some things. How many people know President Obama and the First Lady, Michelle Obama? Okay, I used to give them escorts whenever they would go out of the country, or whenever they would fly. I would take them to Andrews Air Force Base in support of the Secret Service. I've done quite a few things. I'm not going to go into everything. Right now, I work for, or I own, actually, Caliber Security Consultants. And what I do is I do a lot of executive protection. How many people in here know A$AP Rocky? Okay, I just did security for him out at the Super Bowl, him and Rihanna. How many people know Cardi B? Okay, I do security for her, and I think that's her calling me now, actually, to do some security. And then I also do security for, and that's executive protection security, by the way. So, how many people know what a bodyguard is? Okay, that's what I do now in my retired life.
Good afternoon. My name is Quincy Curtis. For the purpose of this, you guys can call me Lieutenant Q. I can relate to every last one of y'all. I'm born and raised in Cabrini Green. A lot of y'all too young to know, but y'all know Candy Man. I'm CG for life. I'm from that life. I'm from the same life y'all is, so I get to recognize who y'all are. I'm a former police officer. This is my 36th year under Chicago Fire Department. I started the Black Fire Brigade 5 years ago. We celebrate 5 years this year. You can clap for that. Since the concept of it, we put 600 young people just like yourselves through the program, 185 single moms and 14 homeless kids. To this day, we put over $10 million back in the Black community in employment. Last part of that, we have 18, 19, and 20-year-olds already making 100 grand. So we're gonna dig into that a little bit more too, all right?
So the first question I have for the panel is, what was the process of you becoming what you are in your profession?
So I'll start. The process starts now while you're young. Show of hands, how many of you have friends, relatives that have shot somebody? All right, how many belong to gangs? All right, okay, just a couple, that's even better. I like to see that. All right, now how many in here are on the right path and focusing on the right things to make sure they don't get a criminal record? Raise your hands. Should be all hands up, right? All right, thank you, put them down. So, how I got to this career path was, I'm from a town called Tucson, Arizona, in Arizona. South Tucson, South Side. All LA gangs, West Coast gangs, all live there. That's where I'm from. All my friends before I got to college had either shot somebody, been to jail, or been killed. All right? So I had to make a conscious decision, what did I want to do with my life? And I wanted to be a homicide detective. That's what I wanted to do with my life, because we are what we are in our environment. I saw guns and how that crippled my environment, taking friends away from me, family away, and I wanted to do something to help the situation. So I wanted to be a homicide detective. I had a family friend from church, older individual, obviously with my parents, who was over at the federal parole board. And he sat at my table and he told me, hey, being a homicide detective is awesome, great way to give back, but he said, as soon as you can, go to federal, into the federal government system. This was the first black man that I saw at my table that drove a nice car, it was a nice Cadillac, had gold jewelry, and he wasn't a dope dealer like some of the people I grew up with. So this was important for me, for my psyche, to say that there is other options outside of here. So I took that advice. I had opportunities because I applied myself somewhat in high school, not all the way. But once I got to college at Morris Brown here in Atlanta, Georgia, I applied myself. By the time I was a senior, I had interviewed for an internship with ATF. And my senior year, I interned with them. By the time I graduated, within 4 months, I was shipped off to the Academy, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Brunswick, and it was a whole new life. And that's how I started this career. I worked the streets of Atlanta for about 13 years, and then I went down to the training center and did training just much like the military, armed forces that are here. I started doing that for trainees, and then I went into management. And I would say I was one of the youngest, special agent in charges over a field division by the time I was 42 years of age. I can retire in the next 2 years. not have to work again, and I'll be less than 50. But that's a little bit of how I got here. But it all starts with your attitude now. You got to believe in yourself and that, and you can't let others lead you into places that are going to put you and compromise your reputation, because at the federal system and also with local law enforcement as well, they're going to come back and do a background check. 10 years, they went back into my community, knocked on doors and asked who I was, right? So my neighbors had to say he wasn't the guy running around with the gang cats, even though some of those people were my friends. But when they went to go do what they did, I let them go. I took my basketball and said, I'm going to the park and play, or I'm going to go study or play video games. So having a clean record is of the most importance if you wanted to get into any kind of community service or civic jobs, state and local or federal government.
Yeah, so the question is how we get to where we are. Being from Buffalo, New York, is where I grew up from. That's where I was born and raised. And we all grew up in similar environments. I was blessed to have two parents in my house. And I was a rambunctious kid, but I sustained a lot of bumps and bruises, got into sports, played sports, got a lot of injuries. And, my dad was there, and I just thought my dad was the smartest guy in the world. He knew how to fix everything. He pulled teeth. He did everything but put stitches on me. So he was a very big influence in my life, and I didn't know how that impacted me until, I get out into the workforce. In high school, I took some EMS classes, but didn't like the pay versus the environment. It was very, it was pretty tough there, but it was something. It was just something that kept drawing me back to the medical field. I wanted to be a millionaire, wanted to be a ball player. Played 2 years in Canada. That didn't work. Landed in Atlanta, and then went back and got my EMS license, and that's where, that's just where God led me. Sometimes some of this stuff is destiny. We all have a plan. We all have things we want to do right now. Everybody in this room see themselves 10 years from now, and you may be greater than that because God has another plan for you. So my story incorporates God with it because I just fell back into it, 38 years old at the time. Thought I was too old. I tried to do radiology. Radiology wasn't radiology for me. It just wasn't working. Anything else just wasn't happening. Physical therapy, personal training, I did mediocre. But I got this job. I got into class with EMS, loved it. It wasn't easy, but it came natural, so I knew it was God. Got into, and just naturally love helping people out. I had a lot of injuries, so I was familiar with physical therapy. I was familiar with patching people up, wrapping ankles, putting pressure on wounds. I lived in the area as a kid. One of my friends there was a robbery attempt. He was shot, came knocking on the door, never forget it. And let him in, I patched him up. My dad was very impressed by my calm. So a lot of people panic. I don't have a panic button. So that's another natural situation that, my dad told me back then, like, hey, man, like, I'm impressed, like you didn't shake, but long story short, it's a destiny. This here is a destiny for me. When I became an EMT, they only told us that we could just drive ambulances. We could just, just be the footstool for the paramedic or what have you. I got one call. It was to do an event. I got another call to come on a show. And I saw there was disorganization. There was a lot of competition. So I gathered a group of us. We were somewhat the misfits. I organized it, made a business of it, and started scheduling people. And now I get a lot of calls. I get all the calls. A lot of calls to staff crews for some of these shows, for some of these productions, some of these events, and now I'm teaching CPR classes. So to sum it up, it's your destiny, and you gotta get in where you fit in. You gotta be in your lane. You gotta know your lane, but you won't know that now. Some of you know that now. Some of you know exactly what you're gonna do. Some of you don't. It may not come until you're 20. It may not come till you're 25. It may not come till you're 40. You know, but it's good to have what these men are telling you, to have a good background. Because if I had trouble in my past, then I couldn't take advantage of some of these opportunities that God put in front of me. So a lot of it is destiny, I'll say.
Amen.
Before I tell my story, I want everybody to stand up real quick. Everybody stand up. I see a lot of people out there, they're sleepy, they're tired, and I get it, I've been there, so I understand. I want everybody to shake it out. We awake now? Is everybody awake? I can't hear you. Is everybody awake? All right, all right.
Yo.
All right. Okay, what put me on my path is actually my mom and my dad divorced when I was about 7 years old. So my father, although I did spend some time with him, he wasn't really that present in my life. I didn't have the role model that I needed to look up to. So, but however, I was living with my grandmother and my mother and my sister. So I became the man of the house very early, at a very early age. And there were two pictures that my grandmother used to hang on her wall, and it was pictures of her sons. And one of her sons was a police officer and the other one was a correctional officer. Now, I didn't really know what they actually did until I asked the question. So, and they weren't really present in my life as well, but I knew that there was something there. And I said, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to be that. I want to be that guy that's in that tie and that suit. And he looked like he was doing something very professional, that had honor and had courage. So I went into the military again, and then when I came out the military, became a police officer and started climbing the ladder. How many of you guys in here considering a law enforcement professional? Is anybody in here? Okay. That's the profession, yes. To be a police officer. How many guys would like to be a police officer in here? Right. You know what? I expected to get that response because I know that the relationship between the police and in particular young black men is not that great. So I'll tell you a story. As a police officer, I was a victim of police brutality. So I do understand. And then I'll tell you this also. As a police officer, I was shot by a young black man. So I have both sides of this situation. And I totally understand both sides. The young man that shot me, I forgave him. And the reason why I forgave him, because that's the most powerful thing that you could ever do in life, is to forgive. And I don't know what his circumstances were as to why he was out with a gun. I have no idea. But I do know this, he was attempting to kill somebody. And I went to that call in plain clothes, as a plain clothes unit. He was attempting to kill somebody. And when I went in that alley, I was going in that alley to protect one of the guys that was working with me. He started shooting at that guy in particular. But their original plan was, it was two shooters. Their original plan was to walk up on both sides of the car where we were in the alley and shoot both of us in the back of the head, me and my partner. However, when the other police officer came through the alley, he started shooting at him, and then they both turned their guns onto our car, shot about 14 times. The bullet went into my back, went across my spine, paralyzed me for just a minute because of the shock of the round. Broke a small rib, landed in my trapezius muscle. The doctor said if I hadn't been working out, that's why I work out constantly. He said if I hadn't been working out, and if I hadn't had the muscle mass that I had, it would have probably went through my lung and maybe my heart, and I wouldn't be here to talk to you guys today. So I'm blessed on that level. Now, the situation with the police officers, they were all white police officers, and they asked me to leave a location, which I was leaving, but I wasn't leaving fast enough. So they grabbed me and they slammed me on the ground. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there used to be these really big, heavy flashlights, metal flashlights called mag lights. Well, they struck me over the back of the head with one of those flashlights, top of my face with one of those flashlights, beat me with baton sticks. And then, you know, I ended up with 5 stitches and I went to the hospital and they placed me under arrest. I went to court on that case and I was found not guilty on the case based on, you know, some of the lies that they had put together. But I tell you these 2 stories to say that, listen, there are good and bad people in this world, in every profession, every walk of life that you're gonna be in. And I encourage you, brothers, if you want to make change happen and be change agents, consider going into law enforcement, because that's what I did. I considered going into law enforcement so I could be that change, so that the things that happened to me won't ever happen again to anybody else. But sometimes you got to go inside, right, to do that.
It was a little different for me. Growing up in Cabrini Green, I had seen my first black firefighter get off a fire truck, and I stopped and went, wow. I was so impressed by the way he jumped off that fire truck and went to work, and I said, that's what I want to be in life right there. At that point, I made up my mind what I was going to be. Fortunate, but the police department called me first. I tell every kid, you take every exam, you ain't got to take the job. Get in the habit of start taking exams, you don't have to take the job, but be able to say no. That's the most important thing you can do in here, right? Be able to do it. After that, I've been in all the specialized units. I've been on all the presidential details. I've been to the White House. I've been to the Prime Minister's house. I've been on the terrorist teams. I've done a lot of great things. One of the greatest things I've ever done was start the Black Fire Brigade. One of the reasons I started it was this. I've been to more gunshots and shootings in my lifetime than the average guy in Vietnam. I've done CPR on more kids like you. I've stopped the bleed on more kids like you than you can imagine. These eyes can never forget what they've seen. I'll never forget the tragedy and the carnage I've seen in my entire life. I grew up in it, and I'm a 36-year veteran in this business still today. And I dedicate my life to saving your life. And my motto became, if you teach a kid to save a life, they'll be less likely to take one. Every last one of y'all is a leader in your own right. Start standing up and take your leadership role.
So I have one last question before I want to open it up for questions from the audience. If you guys have a question, just line up in the middle real quick, and I'll take a few of them. But what does it mean for each of you to be a black man in each of your respective professions? And then, Mr. Gibbons, if you want to touch on how lyrics and social media affect your job and what you do.
So, to be a black African-American man in my profession, I'll just take you to our academy down in Brunswick. We normally have classes of 24 trainees, and generally there's no more than 2, maybe 4 that are going to be black or African-American in each class. So that means that there's a small minority of us that are in the federal government as federal agents. So we work a lot with our state and local partners. I do a lot of recruiting from our state and local partners to get young black African Americans into federal law enforcement. And so to me, I wear it as a badge of pride. I've never wanted to go into management, but I knew, just like they said, to change the system, that I was gonna have to get into the management game to start handling recruitment and those kind of things. So to me, I wear it with a badge of honor to help and continue to recruit black African Americans in our job. Sorry, what was the follow-up?
We're talking about rap and social media and your job.
Rap, social media. I'm a big hip hop head. I love rap and that, but when individuals rap, it's entertainment. We can all do entertainment. It's no different than writing a script or movies. But when you talk about incidents that you and or your crew do, then that is legitimate. You're making an admission, and those kind of things can be utilized in court because it's actual and linked to actual crimes. So obviously none of you, because you are future leaders, will be doing that. I imagine some of you, who's interested in music careers? Where's all the musicians? Some over here, okay. Raise your hand, what musicians? Rap, who plays instruments, all that stuff. Like, I mean, you guys are smart. So it's entertainment, but just like Pastor Gray said, hey, rapping about tearing people down is a death cycle too.
So you guys can just answer the question of what it means to be black in your professions. I'll get these 4 questions.
To me, it's a big deal. I started out, it took me a long time to figure out or get into a career mode type of situation. I woke up in that ambulance service that I worked for. I didn't see anybody like me in management. And I took it personally when I looked up and I remember vividly, I asked the supervisor, how long did it take you to get this position and how much you make? He told me 15 years. And I said, how much do you make? He said, 75,000. And I looked at myself and I said, man, I was already in my mid-30s at the time. And I said, damn. So I'm gonna have to be 50 years old before I make $75,000. And I asked him other questions. I said, so, do you have any other plans? Like, are you comfortable? He said, yeah. And I said, okay. And in that short conversation, I figured out that he just did the right things a little earlier in life. And he was a little more content. That's all he needed. He was married. But I didn't have the same situation. I started in the EMS a little late, but I did figure out that he wasn't smarter than me. But this man got to tell me when I was gonna take my break and what shift I could and could not work, and how I needed to dress, this, there, and so forth. And I just didn't have that same ideology. By the way, we were like 2 years apart. He's like probably 2 years older than me. So when I got the opportunity, how many people see this t-shirt? Y'all see this t-shirt? Y'all recognize this, what I'm trying to say right here? You recognize the culture. You recognize the hip hop culture here? Thank you. So when I had the opportunity to step out on my own and make my own business, I was that black man. I was that person that got to tell people when they could take a break, what shift they could and could not work. But it wasn't a power trip. It was more to empower other people like myself. It was, that guy had his thumb on me. I don't put my thumb on anybody. Everybody that comes to work with me is a contractor, potential partner. I don't want you to work for me. I want you to work with me. I don't want you to be my employee. I want you to build a company and a brand with me. So this is my brand. And this is how I stand out. Not only am I a black man, I stand out because I represent you all. I represent this culture that tends to have a negative connotation most of the time, but we make it positive. You know, I put this shirt on, I got a Ill Medic t-shirt. I don't know if y'all might be too young to know what Nas is or some real hip hop. Y'all might like that mumble stuff, you know what I mean? But I got another t-shirt coming out, don't steal it, MWA. Y'all might, that's over, people say, that's okay. Medics with attitude, you know what I'm saying? So it's I want to have it as a black man with this culture, with this impact. Some of you guys see me and you may say, yo, you know what, that's just like he saw that black fireman come off of that truck. That's impact. We have the opportunity, us, to have this impact on young minds. So You don't go to a hospital and think, oh, I gotta do. You know, you can be fresh. You can be stylish. You can have a brand. You can have a swag. Long as you know your stuff, you got great bedside manner. You're a professional. You know how to treat people. And guess what? People approve of this. They call me back. I get multiple calls all the time. So, not to be long-winded, but yeah, this is very important, and this should be important to you. I heard these men call you guys future leaders. You should take that personal. My future is now. I'm present. I got gray hair and everything. So I consider myself a leader, a survivor, and I'm successful. So yeah, it's important, and it's important to you too.
Yeah, for me, I really didn't experience too much racism. There were some pockets here and there when I was on the job throughout my career. But the reason why I say it that way is because I stood in my own power. And I stood up as a man and I demanded my respect. So those things didn't bother me. So whatever someone had to say or how they felt about me didn't bother me. Here's the thing that you guys have to understand. Racism was here before you guys were born, and it's going to be here when you're gone. So what I ask you to do is just stand in your power and understand what you're doing. I had job knowledge, so anytime that I was faced with something that was potentially racist and they tried to use job against me, I quoted my general orders to them verbatim, told them exactly why they were wrong. So when you stand in your power like that, you'll be okay. You can face any obstacle. All right?
Just real quick, we talk about social media. You know, I don't know if y'all know how many shootings I sometimes go to in a day. I could do 5, 10 gunshots in a day, like it's nothing. But that social media, take a vacation from it. Stop letting that social media influence your life. You know, people talking about they living their best life. If you live in your best life, you live in it. It ain't for the world to know, it's for you to know. So keep that in mind. When people are negative, go positive. You know, I'm from Cabrini. I had every chance in the world to go left, but I went right. And I'll tell you, by making the right choices today, you're making them right now being here. You know, being here is the right choice, right here, right mind, with the right guys in front of you that's helping you, the right mentors to do that. When I came on the job in the 80s, there were close to 1,000 African-American firefighters. Today, there's less than 300. I'm about to make history because I'm about to have the largest African-American paramedic class being processed right now today as I sit here. Something really important. I want to make sure I get this out. Y'all got a third brain with y'all, right? You got Siri, Google, and YouTube. Anything you can think of that you want to be in life, go back to Siri, YouTube, and Google. Ask the questions. You don't even need to know how to spell it. Just say it in your phone. You'll be amazed at how it gives you direction on where to go and how to get information that you need.
Do any of you have any life lessons that you've gotten from your professions that helped you in your life when you weren't on the job?
Mine was real soon and real fast. Growing up around a ton of shootings, growing up around a bunch of pumpkin heads, growing up around a bunch of game bangers, you know. And this side of my family is about that life. I would not sit here and lie to anybody in here. They about that life for real, right? And it's a quick, funny story. I have 3 boys. 2 of them are Chicago police officers. One of my sons was into a fight at a Walgreens on duty. He was 99, which means one guy in the car. His cousins was coming down the street. You know what? It was like a war out there, and all the police got there. and they don't know what's going on, but they didn't realize that, yeah, his family from that life, but he's the police. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that's gonna change your life. The biggest thing you can do is always get with somebody positive to move that life forward.
For me, as a teenager, man, without my father being in my life and my mom raising me and my grandmother raising me, I was always throwing hands. I was always throwing hands. I was knocking cats out, that kind of thing, just getting in fights, right? But I had a plan because I couldn't do that forever. I couldn't go out here and hang out with my boys and get in fights. And back in that day, when we got in fights, and later on, we were good. Nobody was shooting each other, none of that stuff. We were good. But again, at some point, I can't keep doing that, right? So I joined the military. And my hat's off to the military brothers in here for what they do. I think we need to clap it up for them again. Because again, I had no discipline until I went into the military. And that's where I got my discipline from. And I had a tech sergeant, he was a white guy, and he told me, don't ever quit. And that sticks with me right to this day. So, don't ever quit.
So, I'll tell you what, growing up, it's like he said, getting into fights, although I could never knock nobody out. But I will say this, something that I took with me was attitude and learning how to calm myself down. I had a fire piston attitude where I would snap at a dime. When you're full of emotion and you strike out, it could be the wrong situation. And as I started to grow, and luckily my father was in my life, even though he had a troubled past, he always told me a couple things. Watch your attitude, slow down and watch the situation and what it is. And that helped me by the time I was in high school, and by that time, we're talking about the 90s, people were pulling guns out, especially if you were a fighter. They don't want to fight. Nobody wants, especially now, nobody wants to smoke, right? Everybody wants to grab the gun and go ahead and shoot somebody, the easy route. That's, in our day, ain't nobody got squabbles, right? So, but it taught me, a lot of times with my friends, we would be out, see cats from a different neighborhood, or for them, a different set. First thing they want to do, start throwing up their gang signs and run over there. Guess what? I'd hang back like, nah, man. There's a reason why. If there's 4 of us up here and there's just one of them and he starts throwing up his signs, he don't want to fight the 4 of us. He knows we can fight. Yeah, he's reaching in his waistband already. It is what it is. Nah, we ain't about to do that because what? We gonna get shot, right? So understanding your attitude and learning how to dial things down, see it for what it is. How that helped me on this job, and I know it helped them on this job. They probably did it, they're probably not saying they're doing undercover and that kind of stuff. To me, some cats look at, undercover, I'm doing undercover. It's a day in the life. Me growing up, so yeah, for me to go in and go buy some guns and dope, or go do a long-term undercover assignment, that was nothing. But I was able to pick out people that wanted to set me up for robberies, all that kind of stuff. So I took what I learned, I just applied it, and had a great time. So.
That's a great question, and you're getting a lot of good information in here, man. That's a good one, because you here with a lot of great people. This whole thing is so heavy. Y'all getting so much. Y'all might be getting advice overload, but I got another one to drop on you, man. I can't help it. We can all be great friends, you know what I mean? And but one thing I know is I can't compete with them. Don't compete with your friends or try to be like or do what the next man is doing, because how many people heard this? What's for you is for you, right? Another thing is tend to your own lawn. You speaking on another person's business, or you got a situation all your own. That's what I learned. And I won't tell you an embarrassing lesson that I had to learn. But as a younger man, I wasn't tending to my own lawn. You know, like he said, take a break from social media. Social media is a great thing. It can be inspiring, and it can make you depressed. You ever look at somebody and they kicked up on the beach, or they on a boat, they chilling, it look like they got all these wonderful things, and you start feeling sad for yourself, and you want to do things like that. That's not your time. It's not for you. Or when it is your time, there's some things that you have to do. So put the blinders on and focus on you, your skill, your wants, your desires, the things that you want to do. So that's the one thing I can tell you is y'all here. Everybody, how many people here got all their friends from the neighborhood here with them? Yeah, okay, so there's a bunch of y'all. Well, that's great. Well, y'all all on the right path. But there's some of y'all here that some of your friends may not have been interested, and they're not getting what they need. This is food. So y'all eat. You know what I mean? So tend to your own lawn. That's it. Mind yours, focus on you.
Okay, I got a question for all of y'all. I know y'all speaking about kind of like the past and recent, but today, how is y'all mental health, knowing that y'all seen stuff that a lot of people haven't seen yet? Like, I know that y'all smiling now, but at home, it probably can be hard. So I want to know, how's y'all mental health?
For me, it's kind of weird because I was born in it, right? So I've seen it all my life. And so now they force you into situations where you got to go see counselors. And to this day, I still don't go do it. And a lot of guys get in situations and they need it. They need it right now. Like guys who ain't from this world, who ain't from that lifestyle, they need counseling like right away. You know, I've been in incidents, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I come back and I eat. You know, I don't take none of it personal. I go to work. The only ones I really take a little personal is when I get there and the baby's shot for no reason. I got a 2-year-old that's shot, you know, or a 3-year-old. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on now, guys. Leave it outside, leave it in your world. Don't bring it in there. But, you know, I've been able to deal with it because I dealt with it my whole life. I mean, when I retire, will it happen? I don't know. When that time comes, I'll seek counseling at that moment. Just like if you guys have some trauma, I advise you to seek counseling. And I'm not saying that day is not gonna come. You know, I've talked to SWAT team members who said it didn't happen to them until they retired. And I'm still in the business, so that's my answer to it.
In 28 years, man, I've seen a lot of trauma, especially in DC at that time. That was in the 90s. Per capita, they had about close to 500 homicides in 1 year. 500 homicides, and about 90% out of that 500 were young black men. Young black men. There was signs up in DC said that black men were being extinct. They were putting signs up. So I've seen a lot of trauma, and I was a victim of trauma. But here's the thing. I go to the gym 5 times a week, 3 to 5 times a week. I go to the gym when it's possible. That's my outlet. Find outlets for yourself. Positive outlets that are going to produce things for you. If it's music that you're into, then let that be your outlet, right? Therapists, I did go to a therapist and talk to her after I got shot. So those things are very, very important for your mental health. My mental health is great. I started a business, like I said, and I'm doing positive things in my business, and I'm also helping other people out who are coming off of the police department, who are looking for extra money, that kind of thing, and I'm giving them opportunities. So you know, just do something for yourself. And that's what's important, all right?
Yeah, mental health thing is pretty new to a lot of us. So a lot of us, I had no idea how much mental and emotional trauma I had experienced in my lifetime until, it pretty much started making it popular probably like 10 years ago. Because like you said, in the environments that we come from, where we live, you know, the news tells you of shootings just like that, and they're talking about the highlights from the game the next minute. So, but we all know how some of us felt when we have that, that blue light syndrome. You know, you already fear the worst when you getting pulled over. That could be a great police officer, and it cannot be such a great police officer. You know, but yeah, like you said, you know, finding the outlet I back that all day. You know, sometimes we young men and older guys I'm not gonna say they older, but myself, you know, we need things to take that aggression out on. When you ball your fist up and you flex and then you release, that is a release. You know, that releases the tension and the stress. So yeah, it's good to talk to somebody that's non-judgmental, somebody who's non-biased. It's not gonna hold it against you, so it's good to have a therapist close by, or to be able to reach out to somebody in your family that you cool with and talk to. But yeah, having that outlet is important, where you could draw. Some of y'all may not be gym rats. Some of y'all may not be athletics. You know, you can draw. You can focus those lyrics and use positive lyrics. I heard Pastor John say, speak light. You know, so speak light. See some things, there's some comedians that take those events and make them comical. You know, Kevin Hart, one of his biggest things was laugh at my pain, right? So that's, yeah, he said it, man. Just find an outlet, be positive. Let somebody talk.
Real quick, I want to share something with you. When I retired from the police department, we're talking about mental health. When I retired from the police department, I'm gonna be straight honest with you guys, man. I was mad. And the reason why I was mad was because I put all that I could into the police department to help people. And I realized as I got closer to retirement that people didn't care. They didn't care about me. I got cussed out, I got called names, I got all kind of things thrown at me, right? But what I did, and I think this is important, and you guys might want to write this down, is I did a self-evaluation. I evaluated myself. I looked at all of my faults, all the things that I did, and I started from there. So what I did after that is I atoned for those things. And once I atoned for those things, then I started to open up, and I started to become a lot more spiritual. And I understood where my position was in life. So when you're talking about what's going on, and you got things that are going on that are mental, and you're stressed, look at yourself first, and think about how things could be better for you, all right?
Good afternoon. My question is for those who have a law enforcement background. If you were interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement, would you say it's better to get a degree first and then try to pursue that career, or start pursuing that career and get your degree later?
Having a degree is awesome, it's excellent. Going to college was the best experience that I could have had. I was not ready mentally for the military, even though I wanted to fly Apache helicopter. People telling me what to do was not my thing at that time. But as soon as you can, you want to do one or the other. Either go to college. Some schools will even pay. Law enforcement agencies will pay for you to get degrees while you're going through, when you finish up the academy, while you're an officer. They will pay for, even in the federal system, will even pay for your master's degree. So it's all about what works for you, because there's money, college costs money, right? So if the agency's gonna pay for it, then that's the way I'm rolling. I'm gonna let them pay for it, right? Or, go ahead and go to college. And you don't need a criminal justice degree. Let me just tell you all that right now. For the federal, you don't need a criminal justice degree. I have people that are engineering degrees that work for me. Hell, I got a 6'10" former NFL football player that played 10 years that works for me right now. All right? So you just need to get in the door. You need to have integrity, And like you said, be willing to help people, even knowing sometimes when that help, the things you do may not be reciprocated to you, because you just gotta have the love for it.
So nowadays, most law enforcement agencies are requiring that you have some sort of degree, even if it's just a 2-year degree. They're asking you to do it. But they're also asking you to join when you're in high school with programs like the cadet program. So I know in DC in particular, cadets that join the program at 16 years old, they make about $30,000 a year. They make $30,000. That's pretty good money as a 16-year-old. But there are requirements that come with that. You have to, have good grades, of course, and you have to be on a path to go to school and get some sort of degree. So.
Our department has backed down from degrees. Everything was a 4-year degree, then they went to a 2-year degree, then they went to 3 years in security and military, just because people just got out of the business of being the police. But I can show you in my phone right now today, there are Chicago police officers that make over $380,000 a year. Facts. So think about this. Police and fire, public safety is a great business. It's a great stepping stone. It allows you to go indoors you can never get in. It allows you to make money that you never thought you could make. Trust me in this business.
So real quick, I retired from the police department like I was telling you guys, right? I do make a 6-figure retirement. I'm not gonna tell you what that is, but it's pretty good on top of what I make in my business. The reason why I'm telling you that is because I think there's a misconception that police officers don't make a lot of money. It's not true. It's not true at all. I have police officer friends that are actually millionaires right now. So, I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you. So, and then here's the thing. When I retired, I don't know if you guys understand this, but I got 80% of my retirement. 80%. And not only that, I got 85% of my medical paid. So that means that when I start to get older and older and older and I need to go to the doctors and stuff, I'm not paying anything out of my pocket. Because they're paying 85%, I'm paying about 25%, that's it. So it's a good job.
And I'll just say with federal government, like I said, I started right in college, and I started at the lowest pay band, and within 4 years, I was already making over six figures. So I was in my 20s, mid-20s, traveling the world. I was single, having fun. And I'll tell you, just like you said, the retirement is great, but just the doors that it opens up, the organizations that you get to start, it's phenomenal. I mean, at this point, I have 2 years and I'll retire, and then I could be going to contracting, public corporate security, and make a lot of more money and still have my retirement. So it's kind of, I'll be dropping my card to him. so I mean, don't knock these wonderful career professions, man. Because like they say, they'll open up doors and opportunities that you would never believe.
Y'all give it up for the panel. We appreciate you guys for stopping through. If you guys have any other questions, they'll be over on this side. You have something to say?
Yeah, just real quick. If you get an opportunity to take an EMT class, take it. When you take the EMT class, you'll get a national certification, right? You can go anywhere in the world and work. You only take this exam once, right? You walk through the door at $24,000 at 18 years of age. In your college and everything is paid for. But if anybody want to talk about it, we'll talk about it on the side. But don't miss this opportunity to make this go out. Real talk. Wow.
Give it up for the panel, y'all boys.